Hey everyone, my name's Katie Robertson. I'm the founder and director for the Anchor Gathering, and this is the Anchor Moment, and I want to tell you a little bit about what that is. It's a time we get to hear from a guest a little bit about their life, their faith journey, and an anchor moment. And that is a time that someone has had their faith grounded and they've seen Jesus for real in their lives. So we are so excited at this time you get to hear firsthand a personal story from one of our guests, and we hope that you'll be encouraged.
Well, Theresa, welcome here into my home. Can't wait to hear you share today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Well, my name's Theresa Phelan. I lived here as a child, very small child. My father passed away when I was an infant. I have a sister who's 3 years older than me. So then my mom was a single mom. My mother was raised in a Jewish family in Seattle, and she really wanted us to embrace her faith. And my sister were like a lot of little kids, we didn't have much interest in church. So as we grew up, we just kind of didn't get too involved in the faith at all. My sister, when she was probably in her mid to late 20s, she met a Christian woman that she worked with. They were nurses. This lady had a group in her home, and it was like a Bible study kind of, but just more of a fellowship group. That's when my sister started to really explore her faith, and she became a Christian. She, a few years later, got married, and she gave her life to Jesus when she was 32. Well, so here I am 3 years behind her. I'm in my late 20s, and I was just miserably unhappy, and I was lost, and my sister by then had moved to Oklahoma because of her husband being a physician. And so I told her I was very unhappy, and she suggested that I go to her friend's group, and that's what they called it, group. And so they were still meeting, and so I started going. I was just so lost. I thought I was desperate. So I went to that group. Those women were so kind, and I knew right away there was something different that they had that I didn't have. And they had Jesus in their life. And so I began going to their church, and by this time, I was living in Phoenix. That's where the group met. And so I started going to their church, and I became really involved I went to a Sunday school class, and I just felt so at home there. Fast forward a few years later, I moved to Southern Arizona. For the first time, I joined a church, and I got baptized there. I think that was 2003. And my life just really started to come together. Things were good. But then in 2005, I moved. My sister had relocated up here when she wanted me to move up here to help take care of my mother, who was getting up there in years by then. And so it was really sweet because my mother was very proud of her Jewish heritage. And she always wanted us to, embrace that. But, she asks many questions about the Christian faith. And she used to say to my sister, "Oh, I wish I had your faith." And so we would try to say, "Well, Mom, you can have this faith too." And she never really did become a Christian, but she loved going to church with us. It was very sweet. And anyway, so she passed away in 2014, and that was kind of, I was up here with my sister and her kids and stuff. So that's why, I've just been really happy living in Tacoma. So my anchor moment came in Christmas time, 2021, and I got COVID-19. I got COVID pneumonia, and was very, very sick, and I had to go to the hospital, and I just didn't think I was that sick, but I couldn't breathe. So I went to the ER, and when I was in there, they were just very matter-of-fact about, "Well, you might not make it." And I was like, "What?" So that was kind of terrifying. So yeah, it was scary. And so then I was in the ER like all day long, and then that night they admitted me to a room. And the first thing I did was just turn on the TV to the Christian TV channel. And I'm telling you, that was my lifeline for the next 20 days while I was in there. I wanted to be immersed in the Lord, and He was in my room with me. One night, and it was very scary because, like I said, I was so sick. And when you're that sick, you don't really have the energy to pray for yourself. But I knew my sister, she had moved to Texas by now. We were in contact every day, and she would talk to the doctors, and the doctors would say, well, she's not doing that well, and so she was worried. But she had all her church friends praying, all my church friends were praying, and it was just really, really scary. But one night, it was late, and there was this TV preacher, and he was giving this message, and I don't remember the story, but he said, God will not leave you in the storm. And boy, did I hang on to that. and he never left me. He never left me in the storm, and I got better, and all I wanted to do was go home, of course. And so after 20 days, my sister came from Texas and my brother-in-law, and they picked me up and took me home and stayed with me for 10 days until I was better. And I was on oxygen for about 8 weeks after I got home. And then I had a wonderful roommate who's a Christian, and she's my dearest friend, and she took care of me after my sister left, and it's been a blessing. And it was shortly after that I came to one of the anchor gatherings. A friend invited me. It's just been wonderful, and now I host an anchor gathering in my home and invite different ladies, and it's been great. I just so enjoyed it.